All righty. Let's see. Is this thing working? Looks like it is. Yay! Cool beans. All righty. Hiya. Don't know if anybody's here in the room yet. Let's see. I've never done this on my computer before, so I'm trying to figure this out.
Trust me.
It might actually be doing a commercial, I think. All right. We're working. Yay. And let's see if anybody is here. According to this, nobody is here, so I'm talking to myself. Yay. I'm kind of experimenting here. I've never done a live video on my computer before, so I'm kind of testing this out to see if it works, how it works. All right, let's see. Hey, Glenn. Hey, how you doing? All right. I'm trying to set up my screen. Actually, I want to do some live streams more often, but I just have to figure it out. And that's what I'm kind of doing today. I used my phone when I've done this in the past, but today I'm actually using my computer. So, hi, how you doing? Glad you're here. Hi, Rudy. Hi, Scott. Time and Tim. Yo, Eric, what up? I have an echo. Ooh, hang on. Let me work on that. Let me see if I can figure that out. Okay, is the echo still there? Is the echo gone? If it is, just let me know. Hopefully that does it. Hey, Scott, glad you enjoy the archive. I started putting it together almost 15 years ago, and here it is all these years later, and it's still going. Who'd have thunk it? All right, Glenn, I assume your yes means the echo is gone, 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 gone. All right, cool. It was there briefly, but gone just as quickly. Okay. Cool beans. Hey, Nick, how you doing? Abdul Majid, hey, how you doing? Dave, my man, what's up? How you doing? Ooh, okay. Now, I didn't plan to do this today, but I'm trying to figure some things out. So I figured I'd go live with this and just kind of test it out and see if anybody showed up. And what do you know? There's 13 of you. Who knew that? And if you didn't see it, the big question I'm throwing out today for you radio geeks is, which radio station did you think was best? Not because it was the one you listened to because it was close to your house, but when you look at the formatics, the jocks, the music, the presentation, which station did you think was better? 77 WABC, 93 KHJ, or 89 WLS? This should be interesting. So feel free to let me know what you think. And then in a little bit, I'll let you know what I think and give you my thoughts on who I thought was best. So welcome. If you're just coming into the room now, glad to have you. Dave just happened upon this. Yeah, I didn't schedule it or anything. I just said, let me just throw it out there and see what happens. Oh, Scott. But to answer your question, KHJ all the way. Eric says 77 WABC. I figured I'd be hearing a lot of that. Glenn also says 77 WABC. Hey, Nick Allen says WLS, the big 89. Interesting. I want to leave that question open for a few minutes and have somebody tally it and let me know what the answer is if you can. In fact, Eric, if you're there, would you mind just keep track of the people that say WABC, WLS, and KHJ? And when I ask for it in about 10 minutes or so, let me know what the tally was on that, because it's easier for you to go ahead and keep track of that than it is for me. So thank you. I appreciate that, Eric. Anyway, who's here? Jeremy, hello. I'm so glad to be here. Well, Jeremy, I'm glad you're here. Also, Nick says WLS, the big 89. I can't argue with LS. I simply cannot. David, good morning from South Florida. Well, good afternoon from Central Florida. For those of you that don't know, I'm based here in Orlando. I do the morning radio show here in Orlando at WPOZ, Z88.3. I've been doing the morning show here at this radio station for about 17 years. I never thought I would last at any radio station for 17 years, but somehow I'm still here after all these years. I guess I can't find a replacement. Before that, I did the morning show at K92 FM, the country station here in Orlando. I also did some work at WFLZ Tampa and also WCFB back when it was Young Country B94.5. I started in Orlando radio back in 1992, so that was 33 years ago. Where did the time go? Spent time working on the air in Atlantic City, Wilmington, Delaware, for a short time in Philadelphia, Roanoke, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, Tampa, Orlando, Seattle, Portland, Salt Lake City, Rochester. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out, but that's pretty much what I've done there. So yeah, a little bit about me. So appreciate you guys are here. Steve W says, hi, Alice. Well, hi, Steve. Nothing beats WABC. You know, it's hard to beat WABC. I'm going to tell you, for those of you who just joined in, the big question we're asking today was which radio station was best? 77 WABC, 89 WLS, or 93 KHJ? And I have an answer, and my answer may surprise you. I'll tell you what it is in just a few minutes. What else is here? Hi, Radio Consulting Services. Glad you're here. Ellis, any recordings of Disco WBOS? I don't have any. I wish I did. If anybody happens to have any, I would love to get a copy of that. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh my goodness, I see YouTube is sticking commercials in. All right. On my screen, I have a commercial right now. Hopefully you don't, but I will just keep going here. Man, that's kind of annoying. I didn't know they were going to stick commercials on the live feed. Well, I will see. Let's see, who else is here? Dave Sharp says WLS. WLS is a great radio station. I can't deny it. Steve Green. By the way, if you're just rejoining us, I had no idea that YouTube would be sticking commercials in here. So I'll try to talk around them. And the next time I do one of these, I'll try to see if I can turn the commercials off. I didn't even realize that would happen. Let's see. Scott Green says Boss Radio. Drake Chenault was the originator. You know what? They really tightened radio and brought it down to its essence and made it forward momentum and fast moving. They did an incredible job with that. Rudy says, WABC, I stopped listening to New York radio from 1971 to 1974 while an Army brat. Got that. Got a dose of Radio Luxembourg, which I loved. Radio Luxembourg was a great radio station. I wish I had some air checks of that to post. If anybody has any, feel free to let me know and pass them along. I'd love to post them up here on the channel. Who else? Oh, it's our friend Nicholas. Hey, Nicholas, how you doing? Scott says, you must be East Coast people. No love for KHJ. That's the problem for a lot of us. If you grew up on the East Coast, you heard WABC, but you could hear WLS on the skip. We didn't get to hear much KHJ back then. And the same thing with West Coasters. You really didn't get to hear WABC. If you had a really good radio and you were in the right position, you might have been able to hear WLS. So it's almost like you have to make this decision through air checks and tapes that you've heard later. But I think we all have a bias towards the station and the personalities and the presentation we grew up with. I got that. I got that. What else do we have here? Dave said, I did the morning show at WWKX. Oh, yeah, KX106 in Rhode Island. I've heard that station a few times. Nicholas says, Baltimore. Are you saying you like Baltimore CHR the best? You guys did have WCAO, which was a great station. B104, great station in its day as well. Steven says, good afternoon, Ellis from New York City. Bummed about News Radio 880 WCBS. You are not alone. In fact, I was a big WCBS listener because I would listen to it every morning from 3 to 4:30 a.m. before driving in to host my morning show. And I would use WCBS to get caught up on some of the big news stories of the day and also hope to find some quirky kicker stories too. So I listened to a lot of CBS, and I love the fact that CBS would put personality into the newscast. I mean, Wins does a great job, but CBS just seemed a little more personable. And there's I loved Wayne Cabot in the morning, Paul Murnane. They just did a great job together, brought personality to it. I was a huge fan of Levon Putney. He did the overnight news for a while, then he went to evening news, and he would just put so much personality and even play funk in his news. So you never knew. You'd be listening to a story. He might bring up a story about dogs not being leashed in New York, and he'd intro it with George Clinton and Atomic Dog. He would just bring all these funk cuts into the news, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm going to miss CBS also. It was such a great radio station. Let's see what we got. Scott says, better log that. Eric says, in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, was WLS at night? I'm sure it was, because that signal just went right up the lake, and I'm sure you got it well up there. Who else do we have here? Oh, I got behind a little, didn't I? Oh, hang on. Yeah, YouTube is insidious. Yeah, Rudy, I'm noticing that. Nicholas says, love WLS. I did too. I am aware of Z88.3, says Jeremy, and K92 in Orlando. My lives there. I assume it was your mom lives there, but I'm not sure. I have not heard you on the radio live in about 30 years since I was there the last time at Walt Disney World. Well, you can always stream me at zradio.com, or if you have the TuneIn app, you can type in Z88.3 or WPOZ, and you can hear me in the morning. But I'm sounding old these days. Ellis in his 60s is not the same as Ellis back in his 20s. Ask Eric B. He will tell you. Anyway, Steven says 77 WABC is the best. Okay, I can see that. I will not argue with that. It was a great station. Great. It was put together well. Great personalities. It was a good station. Jeremy says, sorry, I meant your family. Okay, I assumed your mom, but I did think you meant a family member. So cool. David says, or recordings of 70s of KISS 108. I have no recordings of WXKS from the 70s. I wish I did. I remember they made that big move to disco, and that's what originally got them going. And Maddie Singer came over from BCN, and that station just took off. So that's another one on my list. If anybody has any KISS 108 air check from the 70s or the early 80s, I would just love to get my hands on it. In fact, a confession to you guys, the reason this radio channel is still going is because of the kindness of strangers, people who have passed along air checks to me, and I've been able to post them. That's the only reason this channel is still alive, because I've exhausted most of my collection of air checks. In fact, you want to see what's going on. If you look behind me over here, you can see that rack on the wall. Those are tapes that I have been given that I haven't even gotten around to dubbing yet. And if you look at these boxes over here right next to the closet, all these boxes are cassette tapes, reel-to-reel tapes, and DAT tapes that I have to get to. Most people, when they send me stuff, they send it to me digitized. But every once in a while, people send me boxes, and I'm happy to get them. I'm very happy to get them. It's just that it takes me time to actually get to all this stuff. So it's just a lot of stuff. I haven't even opened this one yet. I got boxes of here. If you can even see this, if I can move the popcorn around, it's all full of cassette tapes. So I've got to go through all that. And I'm just a one-man operation, so it's hard for me to handle all this by myself. But yeah, all this, all this, all this. Guess what happens if I go in here? Yeah, reel to reel. I got to get to all this someday. And I'm trying to do, I basically dub, if I'm busy, I try to dub one tape a day. One side in the morning when I go to work and another side in the evening when I go to bed. So I'm trying to get on top of it, but it is a huge, huge job. Oh, what other comments do we have in here? Steven says 77 WABC was the best. Can't argue with that. I said that already. Andrew says, hi, Ellis. Any idea if 96.1 now in San Antonio will flip the party as a dance rhythmic? I have been hearing some talk about that, but I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. I used to be so connected, especially in my CHR days. I knew everything that was going on. But these days, it's just gotten hard for me to stay on top of stuff the way I used to. Eric says he has YouTube Premium, so no ads. Oh, cool. Eric, let me know how much that costs a month. I might get that myself. That might be pretty cool. Glenn says, do you have any small market station air checks? I do, but not a lot. I try to post some from time to time. The problem with the small market air checks is nobody listens to them. I had an incredible air check of a radio station in this tiny, tiny market in Oregon from 1965. It is so hard to get small market radio from that era. And nobody listened to it. I can't remember the calls of it right now, but I just thought it was great to hear small market 1965 radio. But the stuff that really does well on the channel, as you can imagine, WLS, WABC, KHJ, KLIF, Quixie and Dixie, WFIL in Philadelphia does very well. So I try to mix it up, but yeah, they just don't perform as well as I wish they did. Let's see what else is here. Scott says, hey, thank you. We get to span the country with your fabulous air checks. By the way, I just saw not long ago, I have posted 4,000 air checks. I have no idea how in the world I've managed to post 4,000 air checks. That's insane. Let's see what else is here. Hang on. When you're doing this much talking and nobody's talking back, you get thirsty. Let's see what's here. Scott. But thank you. We get to span the country with the air checks. Got it. Okay. Jeremy says, although they stopped the music when I was about 3 months old, yeah, I always feel bad for a lot of the people who are, it feels even weird saying this, who are under 50 who didn't get to hear WABC when it played music, or under 40 who didn't get to hear WLS when they played music. LS hung on a long time. They were playing music till almost 1990. Dr. Meg, good morning. David says, I have cousins from Cali who brought me tapes in the 70s of KCBQ and KFRC. Oh, they were both amazing radio stations. I almost included in this WABC, WLS, KHJ debate here, I almost brought KFRC into it, but I didn't. Maybe I'll save that for another day. Driving Fog, WHBQ Memphis, great station, former home of Rick Dees. Smooth Operator, CKLW, that's another one I cannot argue with. TV Radio 72 says, I prefer CBS over 1010 wins for news. Okay, yeah, I did too. Both do a great job, but I liked it better too. I skipped some. Oh, I skipped a bunch. I'm sorry, guys. Man, I really got far behind. Man, how did I get so far behind? Um, okay, here we are. Nicholas says, I dug the Baltimore stuff. WITH, loved ITH. CAO, BSB, MAR, Hot Hits 106. Have you ever worked in Baltimore? Yes, I did. I worked for a short time in Baltimore at WIYY 98 Rock, but my style didn't really fit in there that well, so I wasn't there that long. I also spent a short period at WERQ 92Q in Baltimore. I wonder if that station's even still around. I haven't really paid attention. But Baltimore was a cool little market. I kind of liked it. Scott says, Gene Autry owned KMPC AM with Dick Whittinghill. Yes, Jeff Edwards, Robert W. Morgan's trailblazing station in its time. That is so true. By the way, if you're just coming into the room, since I see there's 37 of you now, we were just asking the question, who did you think was best? 77 WABC, 93 KHJ, or 89 WLS? All three stations were monsters. And just curious which one you thought was the best. I'm going to tell you in a couple minutes who I thought was the best. My answer may surprise you. We'll see. Let's see. Doctum said 1010 wind signal in New Jersey is not always the best. It's not. CBS is better. I was wondering if it's better now that Winds is on 92.3 FM. Is it doing better coverage in those areas where it was weak? Nick says, I also love Pittsburgh, KQV, Wixie, and the great original Whammo. Oh, yeah, I loved Whammo back in the day. I actually had an interview with Whammo back in the early 90s. I thought something might happen with it, but we talked once and nothing ever happened, so I guess I wasn't the right person. Eric's is true, my friend. Gotcha. Andrew, WABC's the best. Gotcha. Jeremy said, I heard it late at night. WLS, that is. I think a lot of us were listening to at night, either hearing John Records Landecker or Yvonne Daniels, who just had the most incredible voice on the radio. If you've never heard Yvonne Daniels, when you have a chance, go through some air check. Just listen to air check or two of her. She was just so good, so professional. Let's see, radio consulting service. Hey, Ellis, John Holiday here. Hey, John, how you doing? Good to hear from you. I grew up on the East Coast and heard WLS at night. Yep, on the skip, as did I. But learned how awesome KHJ was from air checks. Yeah. Period that Charlie Van Dyke, PD, Morning Man was their best era. They were so good. Raymond says, do you think John and Ken of KFI Los Angeles will reunite, or will Ken remain retired? Maybe Ken just needed a break and will return one day. I think Ken is retired. They were making pretty good money at KFI. And you got to figure, after talking for 30 years on the radio, doing talk radio, at some point you're just all talked out and you've had enough. They were at the top of their game for all that time, so I really think Ken's done. Plus, I do think Ken's a little bit older than John. But, yeah, I think the John Kohlbelt show is what you're going to have from now on. And John's doing a good job by himself. I'm loving hearing John. By the way, if you didn't know this, I worked with John and Ken. I was hosting a morning show in Atlantic City at WOND. And they hired John and Ken, who were not a team, and put them together on WOND back in 1988. And I got bumped out of the morning show to go do afternoons. It's fact. I'm not bitter or anything. But that bump then allowed me to move to WMGM FM and then started my career really rolling in CHR. So them replacing me might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. And then when I moved to FM, John and Ken took their morning show from WOND to WMGM, where I got to work with them again. They were good guys. When I worked with them in New Jersey, I knew these guys were going places, and they did set New Jersey 101.5 Fire, and then Los Angeles. 30 years. That's an incredible track record. But yeah, I really do like John and Ken. Let's see. Mark says, what's your favorite Jam or Pam's jingle package? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. Whew. Pam's had so many incredible packages. I really don't think I can label it, limit it down to one. They had so many. If I was forced to pick one, wow. Whew. Was Energy One Pam's or was that TM? I think that was TM. There's a bunch of Pam's numbered series in the 20s that I just love, but I don't think I can label it down to one. As far as Jam goes, they had so many great ones too. Hot Kiss, I loved. Outstanding was one of my favorites. I really like that one. Those would probably be the two right there. But man, Jam in the 80s, they were just on fire. They could almost do no wrong. Let's see. Kiss 108 Boston with Wendy Williams would be great. Ooh, I did not know Wendy Williams worked at Kiss. I started listening to her at WUSL Power 99 in Philly and then followed her up to New York, but I didn't know she was there. I'd love, if anybody has Wendy Williams on Kiss, get me a copy. I would love to hear that. Let's see. Scott says maybe John and Ken, but probably not Loman and Barkley. No, I don't think we're going to hear a Loman and Barkley reunion. Don't think that's going to happen. Scott Green, $119 a year. I guess that's the cost of getting YouTube without commercials. You know what? That might be with it because I'm finding as time goes on, I watch more and more YouTube. I probably watch more YouTube than I do regular television. So I may actually look into that. Thank you for that. TV radio, 1972. It's a sad time as legendary stations go. Yeah, WCBS is gone. 900 CHML, Ontario. Oh, Hamilton, Ontario. I used to listen to that station as a kid. Somewhere in my closet, I even have a QSL card from them when I sent in a reception report. Yeah, it is sad just seeing all these stations that are legendary just drop like flies. It's really sad, but that's the nature of the business right now, as AM is struggling trying to get people to listen, and even FM is struggling trying to get people under 40 to listen. Our consultant at my radio station said something which is really sad, and it's up for debate. I may even bring it up here one day, but not today. Our consultant says he thinks once the last of the baby boomers go, that's the end of radio. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's sad. Anyway, what else we got here? I'm going to tell you in just a couple minutes which station I thought was best, WABC, 93 KHJ, or WLS. I will get to that in a couple of minutes here. And if you didn't tell me which one you thought was best, just let me know in the comments. My friend Eric is keeping tally, and he's going to let me know what you guys thought was best. And then I'll tell you what station I thought was best. Okay. What do we got? Andrew Ellis, I have asked you a question. Oh, did you ask it and I missed it? I'm sorry. Ask it again, Andrew. It's just too hard for me to scroll back up if you asked it and I missed it. Mike says, hi, Ellis. How you doing today? Doing great. Scott says that's a hard one. I guess between the three stations, which one is best? And I agree. It is a very tough station. Each one I thought was great and really stood out in different fields for different reasons. I'll tell you why in just a couple. David One, Energy One was Pam's. Okay, then Energy One was probably one of my favorites. It figures, David, you would know. David spent his time working for Jams for many years, so he knows a lot about jingles. Thank you, David. Mark says, I love Outstanding. I do too. I've heard some people say it wasn't the best CHR package. It sounded more like an AC or hot AC package, but I just thought it was a great universal package. It just sounded great. Oh, I just realized I didn't check to see what Alan Sniffen is doing today on the DJ Radio Hall of Fame. Oh, well. Oh, I missed it this week. Let's see what else is going on here. Scott says KPWR Power 106 had a great top of the hour. 72,000 watts of music power. KPWR Los Angeles Power 106. I remember it. It was good. Power 106 was another station I thought I was going to work at. They had me send a tape. They had me send another tape. They had me send another tape. We chatted on the phone. I thought something was going to happen. It was an evening shift, but it never happened. That was back in the days when Jeff Wyatt was running it, and I thought I was going to go to Power. Some days I look back at my career. It's so weird. Sometimes I look at my career and I feel like I'm a failure because I never got to work on the radio in New York City. I never got to work in Los Angeles. The closest I got to a major market was when I was working in Seattle, which was market number 11, which means it wasn't market 10. It was so close I could almost touch the major markets, but I never made it. But then again, I've been doing mornings here in Orlando for decades, and I guess that is a sign of success. So I guess I can't complain. Anyway, what else do we have here? Scott says, such a sad thought. Yeah. Eric, the biggest waste of signal is what 810 KGO San Francisco has become. I agree. What a waste of a killer signal. When I was doing radio in Seattle, I would listen to KGO. And there was this one guy, and if you know anything about KGO, you probably know who he was. He was this professor. He was kind of slow in his speech and kind of a deep voice. But this guy knew everything about everything. Oh, come on. Commercials are popping up again. Oh, man. Anyway, if anybody knows the name of that guy on KGO, let me know down in the comments. I just thought that guy was the most knowledgeable, smartest talk show host I have ever heard. Not the most dynamic, not the most entertaining, but the smartest guy I've ever heard. Oh, let's see what's up here. If you missed what I was asking and a commercial popped up, I was just asking what was the name of this really smart guy on KGO. I think he did weekends, Dr. something. He was a professor, and he was like the smartest guy I ever heard on the radio. No matter what you asked him, they had the answer. This guy had the answer. He was incredible. Anyway, let's see what else is here. I'm trying to get to everybody's comments, but I know I'm getting behind her and behind her. Huh. Horizon House. I'm a baby bummer. So am I. WLS says, Guy. Jeremy says, CHML. My dad heard that in Buffalo, New York, on his way to the CNE in Toronto. I used to listen to CHML in Philadelphia. Doctum says, what a powerful statement. Oh, I guess about when the last baby boomer goes, that's going to be the end of radio. Yeah. Andrew says, have you heard of Party 105 on Long Island? Of course I do. A couple of my friends were working there. Let me see. Vic Latino, I believe, is there or was there for a while. Jill Strata, a friend of mine who worked at Power 95.3 here in Orlando, I believe was their program director for a while. She's in Atlanta now. How do I keep track of all these people? This is insane. Adrian says, I remember Wendy Williams on WSL. So do I. She was interesting. Yes, she was. It's kind of sad what's happened to her, but she was really unique and entertaining. Jeff Wyatt blew you off. He lost out. Well, remember, it's Power 106 Los Angeles. So Jeff Wyatt had his pick of some of the best people in the country. So I'm just honored that I was allowed to be a part of it. You know, I think of all the stations I had interviewed for that I didn't get, including WBBM in Chicago. Had an interview at The Wolf in San Francisco, a couple of different Portland stations, a couple of Atlanta stations. So, what station was it? In Houston, a couple stations in Houston, one in Dallas. So I just feel honored that even though I never actually landed at a major market stations were at times interested in me. So that made me feel good. Let's see what else is here. I'm sorry. What do we got here? Nicholas says there will always be an audio and video medium that will evolve. I agree. I totally agree. So many people are listening to podcasts. A lot of talk radio, the content has just moved. It's still around. It just may not be over the air on the radio in the next 30 years. We'll see what happens. Gene Burns, says Nicholas. Gene Burns was a good one. I may have posted one of his air checks. I'll have to check. Doctum says, one of the other cool things about radio is when you pick up the signal of radio station a million miles away from where you are. I remember hearing WFAN driving home one night on I-75 in Miami. I agree. I used to be such a radio geek. I used to be. I used to listen to faraway radio stations. Then I would write them. And then they would send me QSL cards or coverage maps or letters confirming that I heard them. Hang on a second. Hang on. Got to show you something if I can get to it. Oh, by the way, here in the closet, more tapes. All those boxes are all tapes I have to get to. Is what I wanted to find. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, hang on. Found it. Okay. Let me show you guys. Something I've never shown anyone outside of my family before. This will show you how much of a geek I was as a teenager. I would actually write those radio stations, you could tell me. They would send me stuff back. And in these books, I have actually saved. This stuff is from like the 1970s, 1980s. This book has all coverage maps of all the radio stations that I wrote to that sent me the coverage maps. I just hung on to all of them. WRKO there. What is that? WBBM Chicago. I know this is hard to see. WYRE Annapolis. Who's that? WBBM Chicago. WHDH Boston. WEEU in Reading. You know, I might just one day make a video about this stuff so I can do clean shots. There's a KDKA Pittsburgh Wizard 100 from 1979 in Philadelphia. Man, this is as geeky as it gets. But not only do I have this book full of coverage maps that I got that I would write away for, I also have. Oh, I forgot. This one was AM coverage maps. This one was FM coverage maps. I admit. Oh, let me tilt this down just a hair so you can see this stuff better. Okay. WGLS in Glassboro. What is that? Baltimore. I think it's WITH. Yeah, I think it's WITH. Baltimore. WGMD in Maryland. WDSD in what's that station? Dover, Delaware. That's right. It had a big signal. Atlantic City. What station is that? Oh, WAYV FM 95, right there, which is I know very hard to see. And what's the other one? Oh man, this stuff is so hard to read upside down. Oh, who is this? Oh, WPGC in Washington. Oh, I'm turning it the wrong way. WPGC in Washington sent that to me. WMVB Millville, WIYY Baltimore, WUSL Philadelphia, WMYS. I hope you. I know this is very small and hard to see, but I hope you can. Who's that? WPIX FM New York. WQQQ. Was that Allentown? WQQQ. Easton up in the Poconos. Who's that? WNEW FM, WXYV Baltimore, WESR Elkton, Maryland, WGMS in Washington. Yeah, this was pretty geeky. I just had so many coverage maps. So much stuff. I'm going to make a video and I will actually do some stills so you can look at each one of these. I haven't looked at this in years, but yeah, a lot of this stuff goes back about 45 to 55 years. And what do I have here? Oh, this is insane. Oh, this is insane. I have not looked at this stuff in years. All right, these are. I can't wait to go over and read the comments. These are actually the letters they wrote me back confirming that I heard the radio station or the TV stations, WBOC TV, WHTH, HTH, oh, WHTM. WHTM, where is that? WHTM. Somebody's probably writing it and I didn't even see it. Oh, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, WHTM. Channel 27, WYAH, that's Norfolk, Virginia. WDMV, WMAQ. Oh, man, this is so geeky. I don't know what was more geekier, actually writing all these radio stations or still hanging on to all of this stuff after all these years. WDEL, where I eventually wound up working, WDEL and WSTW. 1210, WCAU, Philadelphia. WGBB, Long Island. WTAE. WKBW, wow. Anyway, and if that weren't enough, some of the stations would just send you QSL cards. So there's some of the ones they sent me. WRVA in Richmond, WBBM Chicago, 77 WABC New York. Oh man, Talk Radio 77 WABC. I know you can barely see that. Oh, WCKY with their transmitter, which you can probably not even see. WTIC with pictures of their transmitters. KXEL, I think that's Waterloo, Iowa, if memory serves me. Oh, it's so small I can't read this stuff anymore. Anyway, yeah, WSM, Nashville. Super Soul 16, WWRL, New York. And yeah, just tons of this stuff. I tell you what, I will make a video for those of you, for both of you who care. I will make a video for you and show you all the cards and all the letters so you can actually take a look at them and put them on still if you like. Oh my goodness, I forgot about this. This is the form I used to send radio stations I would hear and fill in the content I heard on the air, mail it to them, and then they mail this stuff back to me. Wow. Yeah, there's one I actually sent and got returned from WKEN. I think that's Dover, Delaware, I think. It's been such a long time. I can't remember. WKEN. Anyway, enough of that. That's about as geeky as it gets. There's a reason why this has been in the closet. No one has seen it in my family in about 30 years. I even hung on to the receipt that I bought my first car from my friend Stacy Hill. My 1972 Dodge Polara. I have no idea why I have that. Oh, what's this? Oh my goodness. This is an article from the Philadelphia Inquirer from 1983 talking about Howard Stern when he first came to New York. So he's been on the air there for less than a year, making all that noise. You could hear him in Philly, and Philadelphia did an article about Howard. Wow, I don't believe I'm still hanging on to that. Wow. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let me put all that away. Finally, WNBC and WOR 710 New York. Oh my goodness. I think this video is so geeky, I'm going to have to erase it once I finish it. Anyway, enough of that. Let's see. Here, let me quickly go through some of this. There's probably so many comments. I'm so far behind here. How long have I been going? I was trying to go for 35 minutes. I've been going for 43 minutes. Yikes. All right. Let me see what else is here. Oh! Oh, where was I? Should have kept Savage on at KGO. Yeah, the KGO thing is so six. Power 106 is now urban contemporary. Yes, it is. It went more in that hip hoppy direction rather than being uh, a dance leaning CHR, rhythmic leaning CHR like it was when I was talking to them. I'm trying not to leave everybody else. And yet, Jeff Wyatt chose Jay Thomas. You got to understand, Jay Thomas was a hot property back then. He really was. Remember, he was doing Cheers. He had done Mork and Mindy. He was just hot. And when he didn't have a TV or movie role, he'd come back to radio. Julian says, I love WCBS, CZFM, and 740 in Toronto, says Horizon House. We'd all love to be radio geeks on here. Hey, Alice, I'm moving to Davenport and wondering if there will be able to hear you on Z88.3. Yes, you will. We have a couple of translators in Polk County, but you should be able to get our main 88.3 signal there. Eric, you are still a radio geek. Thank you, Eric. PJ says, thank you for what you do and happy cruising. Thank you. Love the coverage, Maps. That's so geeky. I thought I was bad. Looks like ink blots, says T Gun. Scott Green, I had every bumper sticker from every U.S. station produced. In my closet, I have a box that is full of bumper stickers. I'm not going to pull it out. Maybe someday. Mark says some legendary calls in there. Jeremy says we'll have to go charge my device. This was an awesome conversation. Oh my goodness. Smooth operator, that's really cool. You thought to save the stuff. That's nice. Jeremy says he was great. So was the Geeter, especially on my music specials on PBS. Yeah, I remember those. Let's see. Oh my goodness, WQQQ, Q100 in Allentown. Yeah, that is a blast from the past. TV Radio 72 says, I still look for distant signals today, whether it's AM, FM, or shortwave. Yeah, I used to, but it got to the point all the AM stations at night are all running the same 3 or 4 shows. I just got bored and I just kind of stopped. Plus, here in Florida, we get so much interference from Cuba, so that makes it difficult. Oh, get those totals ready, Eric. I'll be asking for them in a minute. By the way, I think Oprah Winfrey was on WHBQ in Memphis. Oh, really? Oprah of WLS TV is. That channel was started her internationally known. Yeah, I can see that. Nick says, I love WOR FM. It was a great radio station. DJ Beat says, do you miss when radio used to be live and DJ spun the records? Of course I do. It was a special time. I used to, and Eric remember this, I used to do road trips. Before I got a car, I would get on a Greyhound bus and go to New York from Atlantic City and record a bunch of stations and bring them back. And then I would go on a bus to Boston. And then when I got a car, I would take 2 boom boxes and just record stuff. A lot of this just to make my air work better. So hopefully it works because I'm still here. Jeremy says, take care. God bless. All right, Jeremy. Don't erase, please. Oh, the Pat New York says, when I was in Florida for a couple of months ago, I would get a CBS 88 WABC down there pretty well in Central Florida. Yeah, I found that if you were at the right place, especially on the coast, you could get them. So they were great radio stations. All right, Eric, give me some totals. Just write them on down there. Let me know how many people said they like WABC best, how many said they like WLS best, and how many said they like KHJ best. And Ellis, don't know if Tom Cook and Kent is still around. No, he's not. Truckin' Tom Cook and Kent actually passed on, I think about 5 or 6 months ago. That was really sad to see. So, yeah, he was great. I got to meet him once. He's another radio geek, if you couldn't tell. All right, let's see what the total is here. According to my friend Eric, he says 8 of you said you thought WABC was best. Okay. 2 said KHJ. Really? and 5 said WLS. Okay, I can respect that. WABC wins with WLS coming out second and KHJ coming out third. I will tell you who I thought was best. I actually thought all three were best at a certain time. There was that period there in the mid 60s when WABC was on fire. 64, 65, 66. If you listen to that station, it is so tight. It is sounding so good. Dan Ingram is on his game. It just sounds like he is at his peak there. ABC, I would say, was the best radio station right around 64, 66, 67-ish. Then, when KHJ came around, that station was fire. It was literally the soundtrack of Los Angeles. Everywhere you went, it was there. The promotions were unbelievable. The music was so tight. That thing had the most incredible forward momentum. So I would have to give late 60s KHJ the best radio station out of the three. But then we get to the 1970s, and WLS in the 60s, though a good sounding radio station, was not a great sounding radio station. It was weighed down with a lot of the ABC network programming they carried. The jocks were they just sounded older than the music, and the station was just kind of okay. But then that station caught fire as we got to like 69, 70, 71. WLS was amazing. They had the jocks. They had more attitude than anybody else. It's like that station could do no wrong. It was just on fire in the 70s. So I would have to give it to WLS for the 70s. It was just hot. And if you think of WABC in the 60s, mid 60s, they were firing on all cylinders. KHJ in the late 60s was just forward momentum and promotions, forward momentum and promotions. It was just so good. And then WLS in the 70s, it was all about attitude. John Records Landecker. I mean, come on. Larry Lujak's middle name may as well have been Attitude. Bob Surratt. Oh, my goodness. The double entendre, the things these guys would do, they were just amazing. So that's what I would say. And some would say that's cheating. But I think in different eras, those radio stations had certain properties that made them the best. So there you go. Anyway, let's see. Get ready to wrap this up here. See if there's any other questions. The Pats New York says, a great listen is 107.1 The Peak, New York City. Jimmy Fink of WPLJ does shows there. I'll have to give it a listen. I've never really listened to them. I will give it a try. Let's see. What else is here? Smooth Operator says, all three were certainly the best in their markets. They certainly were. Eric says, I actually like 10Q. 10Q, man, that was a great station. And then after them, like so many other stations were trying to adopt the Q format. But boy, they were the masters at it. They were so good. Ron Rollo says, WABC was great, 62, 63, Charlie Greer. Daytime, Bob Dayton, HOA, Scott Mooney, Brucey. They were very good. They were very good. But I really think there was something about 1964. I think it's something about combining WABC and the Beatles. Boom, just made that station explode. But it was a great radio station. And they even managed to sound great, even with all the encumbrances they had from the network. They had to run all these network features. They had to run the Breakfast Club in the morning with McNeil. That was just a lot of weight, and ABC still made it work even through all of that. There was a lot of great radio back then, so Smooth Operator. Absolutely there was. Good afternoon, Ellis. Hey, Paul. How you doing? Nick says, when ABC did the network split, things got better and more competitive. When ABC did the network split, I'm not sure what you mean there. I assume you mean when ABC when WABC wasn't forced to run all the ABC network stuff, and it did make WABC smoother and better. But I think at that point, KHJ had come along, and that was just an incredible radio station. But ABC was still spectacular. Let's see. Ramona says WWRL and WBLS was a powerhouse station. Yeah, it was. Oh, I remember loving WWRL and Jerry Bledsoe and what was his name? He's still on New York radio today. Bob Gary Bird. Wow, my memory is slipping. Gary Bird, the GBE, the Gary Bird Experience. Man, that was so good. David says WGAR Cleveland, the real Bob James, Art Wallace, Phil Gander. By the way, if you are a Bob James fan, I have a real treat that I need to get to. Bob James sent me a big box of all of his stuff with a ton of stuff from WNBC New York and WGAR. I cannot wait to go through that, digitize it, and upload it. It's in the closet there. In fact, there it is, that box right there. I've got to get to it, so that'll be fun to get to. Oh, let's see. Before I get out of here, Scott says KRLA 1110 also had young B. Mitchell Reed. Yes, they did. So many people think of B. Mitchell Reed as New York, but he spent a lot of time in Los Angeles and was really good. Why was Gary Bird called Imhotep Gary Bird? You know, I'm not quite sure. That might have had to do with a spiritual awakening and adding to his name. I'm not quite sure. I'll look that up and have to find out. But after all these years, he's still on the radio in New York. He started at WWRL in 1969. And here in 2024, he's on two different stations. I think he does a weekend show on WBLS. And then he's on another station. It's WBAI maybe? I'm not sure. If you Google it, you can find it and check it out. Anyway, Ellis, when you worked in Baltimore, I know you were on 98 Rock, but were you around when Randy Dennis, Frank Ski, I remember Frank Ski, Tim Watts, Glenn Beck, and the morning guys and the others were there? No, they were not. When I was there, Russ Matla was doing the morning show, Russellmania, as he called himself. I'm trying to think if Frank Ski was there. He might have been. But it was man, that was a great radio station. There was so much creativity in that radio station. DJ Beats asks, what's your favorite radio format? You know, I can listen to anything. I would even sit around and listen to nostalgia radio, even though I didn't grow up with that. But if I heard a jock and they had a great style, I would listen to it. And I'm kind of a music geek also, so I would be open to listening to anything. I think I'd listen to everything. I even eventually started listening to bluegrass radio when I moved to the mountains of Western Virginia for a while there. Anyway, is that? Ooh, I think my mouse is dying here. Oh, okay. I was about to say this may be going on a lot longer because with a dead mouse, I can't turn this off, but it's working now. Oh, Ramona says, don't forget Georgie Woods, the man with the goods. Absolutely. Used to love Georgie Woods. He was on WDAS in Philly for years and years. He did some work in New York also. So good guy. Anyway, hey, this was fun. I'm going to try to do this more often. This actually worked out well doing it on my computer. So I hope you guys had a good time. I cannot believe I went 58 minutes. I got to get off this thing because I do not want to have gone an hour. I only wanted to go 30 minutes because I know I can sit here and talk all day. And thank all 35 of you for sticking around. That's awesome. So, hey, you guys, thanks for dropping by. I will talk to you later. Have a great evening and a great weekend. And I'll see you next time.